my friends, I'm Rick and this is your Seat at the Table. I got little Missy sitting back here over the corner and we are looking at another installment in A Game Not Traveler, my would-be Interstellar Frontiers solo game system. The cycle, we started cycle 18, so hopefully I get that one in sequence. This would be the following after that one. Although the argument can be made, this can play out either way. Now, we're going to explain what's going on here first off. So, we contracted a private ship to haul some representatives and some staff, some credits, and some mineral resources for resale to a trade world, and they left on their first jump of the first leg of their trip, and it reached just short of the end of my region. So if we look at the overall map of my region of space, and we will see that this engagement takes place in this little corner of the map. I get to the right damn map. All right, so up here in this corner. So we left Fairwind, and the first stop in a 29 light year travel, so we travel 5 light years to reach here. This is our first drop off. We know the system is 100% explored, or 100% nothing, so that just solved our problems for what was going to be in the system or not. So unless the house or a third party puts artificial stuff here, we could put comsats, communication satellites, market buoys. We can put supply platforms. Any kind of space-based construction can be can be installed here if we want to. Anyway, so this was where our the Emperor Lo arrived, and technically speaking, we can make the argument that the Emperor Lo arrived at, or made that jump at the very end of cycle 17. One of the last things I did was figure out the loadout, what I wanted to send, who I was sending, and how much I could afford to send to the trade world in anticipation of setting up a purchasing office and going through all that on that other end. And so the ship was already ready to jump. So I could say the argument is the ship left at the end of cycle 17, and so that this incident is still part of cycle 17. So because my response is the Emperor Lo arrives in a system that was new to it, and we did an exploration chart, an event roll for a ship arrival, and it turned out to be a pirate waiting for them. And so there's a pirate ship, and I rolled my percentages using my noble status modifier of -50. So we end up with a gunboat, which the odds were pretty good. It was going to be a Tech 1 hull anyway, about 75-80% chance it was going to be a Tech 1, and otherwise it would have been a Tech 2, and it was a tiny 1% chance, I think, of it being a Tech 3. So which would have been more than we could handle. As it sits, Tech 2 is pushing the boundaries. We were fortunate the house lucked into one of my platinums, having hired a mercenary sloop who apparently followed the colonial effort at least part way out here, and joined up right after, like the next cycle after arriving. So I mean, it was just dumb luck, and that was an event roll. That's not something I concocted. I like to be clear about that shit. Now, I don't concoct anything. This stuff just does what it does. So in this case, the Emperor Lo was contracted, loaded, and shipped. So it gets to the destination, comes out of jump, and lo and behold, he's being, fired at or warned. In either case, there's a pirate here wanting to talk business with them. And so the Emperor Lo has a single star drive ability, so it can't double jump. Now, it's quite possible to trick out your ships with dual star drives, with the intentions of having you'd have 2 star drives and 2 Navi computers. You can't double tap the same Navi computer. It has to be a separate one. Going to run all them complicated computations and crap, right? So in this case, it's blown its wad, and it's stuck here for the rest of cycle 18. So if it jumped at the end of 17, then it would jump at the end of 18, kind of thing, or at the beginning of 18. It doesn't matter. The point is, it can't jump again until 18. So it arrives. The pirate's already there. It's a great assumption that the pirate was there before my ship arrived. Because if you live in an era where you can't double jump on a regular basis, the ability to run away when you're doing something nefarious is usually a benefit. So the odds are real good the pirate got into this position the cycle or two before and been loitering in the area waiting for an opportunity. Right? That said, or somebody on my end of things got wind of the house's effort and got word out to their pirate cronies, and the most logical first stop would have been this light year. Now, had I had the ships, perhaps if I'd have jumped into the number 4, number 5, and number 6 as opposed to number 5. So if I'd have sent 4 ships to 3 light years, one on either side, my target was light year 5, and if I went to 4 and 6, the odds in my mind is there might be pirate ships sitting there waiting, because ideally that's what they would do. They would target the, if it's not this system, it's that system, but they got to come out somewhere in here, and they take their chances. That's kind of part of the fishing, if you want. So in this perspective, my response is the Terrace. The Terrace is that sloop that my Platinum had hired and was on loan to the house. So the house has an armed warship, and this warship, as warships grow, sloops are weak. They're very weak. The only thing weaker is the gunboat. And so that is what it is. In the case of this one, this sloop has 4 gun mounts, because each section, it's a 299-ton hull, means there's 2 internal sections. So it can either have a starboard and a port, or an aft and a bow, or a keel and a sail, but it's going to have, the ship's going to be compartmentalized in 2 sections, where a gunboat is only 1 section. The hull is the ship, whereas a sloop is a 2-part hull. And that said, each component, each part of the hull gets to have 2 gun mounts for fighter grade scale fighter weapon system. So my scouts all have a gun mount minimum, but they pack almost the weapons they carry wouldn't scratch the surface of a warship ever. So they're worthless against other ships. They're only good against fighters and ground attacks, and even then they're weak. We've seen that in that engagement against that much more primitive Air Force when scout ship managed to escape, but took some shots, took some fire. The shields didn't get scraped hardly at all, but there was no real weapons to shoot back at the enemy either. The enemy didn't get close enough for my dumb rockets to reach them, so there was no point in firing. In this case, the Terrace and the Amperlo and for sure are Tech 2 hulls. So the odds are real good. They have at least Tech 2 weapon systems on board in those gun mounts. Makes them a little more potent, but not much more. The gun mount for the pirate, he's going to be packing lesser shit, because he's hobbled together with my 50% noble modifier. So the percentage of him getting Tech 3 and higher weapons are pretty zilch. Like 1% for Tech 3 and nothing for above that. So the lion's share of it's going to be a Tech 1. So that's how it rolled out. And so when I set it up, I ended up with a gunboat. So I placed all my stuff down, and that's what we're at here. We have the enemy gunboat. It's called Your Mine. This is an existing tag that I already had. Has a naval autocannon on board. That is a pretty potent weapon. A naval autocannon can fire 2 rounds, hence the part autocannon. So 2 rounds per combat round. So in this case, it has a total of 10 shots available. It can use up to 2 at a time. So it would have 5 rounds of fire before running out of ammo. And then this one is carrying a weapon magazine B. That's the smaller of the 2 weapon mags with a 20-ton capacity. So this thing carry at half a ton. At half a ton, this thing has enough reloads in it that I don't think I'm going to ever have to worry about running out of ammo in a fight. That's as good and bad. Naval grade weapons, or kinetic weapons, anything that run off of ammo is a problem. as opposed to the Terrace. All right. So a gunboat is literally too small to mount anything bigger. It can't. It might be able to squeeze in the naval laser battery that the Terrace has, but it would not be able to do anything else. Or the exception would be a oh the damn it, yeah, would be the missile batteries. So you could put a Mark I missile battery on a gunboat and pair it up with a Mark, or the WeMag B, or the Mark II weapons magazine, which is actually the smaller of the two, and it would be able to sufficiently be a functioning warship for quite a while. I mean, it would take a while for you to run through your ammo. So in the case of naval missile battery, you would carry 2 missiles per shot, and I forget how many. I think it's like a half ton or a ton to reload. So you would have quite a few missiles. In our case, the naval grade weapons are pretty potent. They also do up to 10 points of damage per hit. So in the case of this naval autocannon, it fires 2-round bursts or a single shot. And so you only either one shot or a double round burst. You don't get to go a shot here and a shot here kind of thing. So we can husband our ammo control. And if you're firing, if this thing's going after a shuttle or something, firing both, and you want to save that shuttle, firing both those shells at that shuttle is a good way to see the shuttle get eradicated, vaporized, because it's just overkill. So in this case, you can mitigate it. And the only real drawback for the gun mount, or for the gunboat, is the shielding. Now the gunboat carries one internal. It can mount 2 shield units. It can have an internal shield and an exterior shield. Where the sloop and the Amperlo are both Tech 2 hulls, so the Terrace and the Amperlo are both Tech 2 hulls. That means they're 299 tons. They have 2 sections, which means each one can have a core shield and then a single exterior shield. So the shielding's about the same when you look at a gunboat versus a sloop, because if you're targeting the sloops, you try to always target the same section. So once you've established what section's what, see, there's the downside for your opponent. I mean, if you're actually playing a living person kind of opponent, you wouldn't know this until after the fact. How did they design their ship? So if, in my case, I tend to have this starboard and port philosophy, or bow and forward. So a bow and aft. So in this case, both the Amperlo and the Terrace are sloops, and it's starboard and port side. So you can literally blow the starboard side off of a ship and still have it fight. The question is how much other of the vital internal organs are in there. See, the other way of breaking down is bow and aft. Now, I like the bow and aft schematic for a different reason. The bow, you stick most of your fuel and your engines and crap in there. So the bow has most of the weapon systems. So the idea is that theoretically you could blow half your ship up and still either run away or fight, depending on which side won the toss. So that said, and then we go to the Amperlo. The Amperlo is tagged as a medium freighter. It's more about speed and range and cargo capacity than about weapon systems. So it says right here in the caveat, lightly armored. So the only thing that the Amperlo has going for it is its shielding and its gun mounts. Right, and the other thing, of course, is speed factors, and the Terrace and the pirate ship, your mine, are pretty fast. They're pretty maneuverable, and they would be because they're warships, as opposed to the freighter, where the freighter the sublight drives, that it would require far more sublight drives than the freighter's worth having on it to get at the maneuverability of any of these warships. So the maneuverability of the Amperlo is tiny. These warships are going to run circles around it. and that's by design on purpose. So ideally under best circumstances, the pirate would fire a warning shot across the bow of the merchant and say, "Heave to, and we will live to see tomorrow." And most merchants will take a gamble because the odds are in their favor that if they listen to what the pirate wants, they'll do what the pirate. Pirate will hold true to that. The old you want to steal the milk, not kill the cow. So in this aspect, there's a good chance but there's not always that chance. There's always a chance that the bad guys are going to do a bad thing. In this case, steal the whole ship and space the crew. I mean, worst case scenario, they just blow everything up. So in this case, they're going to have laid in wait. The Amberlo shows up, gets a warning shot fired at it, and said, "Hey, I can run circles around you and I outgun you. Pull over so I can ransack your shit." And the odds are real good the Amberlo is going to do that. Now, if the Amberlo does that, and I don't have anything to contest it, then all them credits I just sent, at the minimum, the credits for sure, are going to be taken from me. Now, the odds are pretty good they're not going to want the mineral resources in the cargo bay because they're a gunboat, not a freighter. That said, they might want the freighter. And since it's an independent freighter, I wouldn't have a lot of say in it. So one thing, the way this would play out is if I hadn't had a ship to go there, then the Amberlo gets engaged, my ship gets stolen, perhaps the Amberlo gets stolen, and I just know that it was engaged. It had a run-in with a pirate, and that was all I knew. Last I saw of it, and the credits, the staff, everything it's gone. Unless somehow, by dumb luck, an event roll occurs in the next couple cycles, it shows that somebody brings that damn ship or its stuff on board and tries to sell it back to me. Which could happen. You never know when it comes to the way these event rolls play out. So, terrorists, on the other hand. This is when I talked about, in setting up trade worlds and setting up in my cycle. When I was doing cycle 18, or so when we get to cycle 18, I mentioned that sometimes you want to move all your ship traffic early, and sometimes you don't. So I look at my ships per basis. What do I need them for, and what are they doing? And because I did that, I did not commit the terrorists or my drop shuttle until the end of the turn. So once I figured out everything I was going to do, all the event rolls and ship traffic rolls took place. Then I decided where my ships are going to go and what they're going to do. And so in the case of the one, I had a ship come out of jump and explode and spew a bunch of components around the exit point. So, and some lifeboats, 300 people on board. So I'm going to send my drop shuttle will spin the cycle, burning up fuel and supplies to go up and retrieve 300 people at 30 people a trip, plus the lifeboats, plus the components. And then we figure out I think I already rolled what the components are and what their conditions are. And then I bring them back to the shipyard and I figure out how to fix them, so I can use them in a future ship build. Which I hopefully once that trade world I get established at the trade world, I'll start buying components that I can't manufacture fast enough and shipping things home, and this will expedite us, because the first thing we want to build for sure is a freighter. I want a freighter, and then I want a goddamn gunboat. I want a dedicated gunboat for the house. And then if I can spin it up, I want a cutter. Now the difference between a cutter and a gunboat is that the cutter is an in-system craft. So we use the same hull frame. A Tech 1 hull makes a gunboat. A Tech 1 hull will make a cutter. So in the case of the gunboat has to have a star drive and a Navi computer. A cutter does not. So we leave off those two components from a cutter. So the cutter cannot jump out of the system. It cannot escape the system. The only way for a cutter to get to another system is to be hooked to a bigger ship and transported via the hardpoint connectors, which is how that plays out. So what this does is it frees up the 20 to 30 tons that you would otherwise devote to your star drive and your Navi computers to weapon systems and bigger shielding. So I could have bigger shield components. So I can have a Tech 1 frame and have Tech 4 shield generators in it. That makes a pretty damn defensible little bugger. I can tell you that right now. And then I can mount a naval grade weapon and some, and the best secondary grade weapons I can get my hands on. And now I have a system defender. So I want one of these cutters for my capital systems because I want a warship in my capital all the time, 100% of the time. So I want this bitch to be in there and deal with whatever I need it to deal with. And so when it comes to things like warships, it behooves us to wait to the last minute or to the very last of our agenda before moving them. Because now we've looked at everything that's occurred, all the events that's taken place. Is there anything we need to respond to now? So a prime example would be one of those damn bug episodes. So you get an event with a bug asteroid or something that drops out of freaking jump on course for your planet. Having a warship sitting around to maybe go deal with that is probably a very ideal thing. It's when the desperation part where you send all your ships completely out. In the early stage where our ships are constantly on the go, we don't have the luxury just keeping one in the system. So by creating that cutter, I'm reducing because I'm not going to be just readily able to send it somewhere else. I need a bigger ship to haul it somewhere. And eventually I'll build ships to do that, but then that'll be a different moot thing. So, and a cutter is the term's is kind of misleading because a cutter is a small ship's boat by tradition. So in this case, it's just my rendition of a non-FTL starship, a spaceship, a spacecraft for your home or for your systems, and the equivalent for the BattleTech fans out there, a drop ship. The only difference between a cutter and, in this aspect is I can have a cargo cutter who drops cargo and mech units off, and I can have a combat cutter. And a combat cutter is exactly that. It's a ship designed specifically for combat, so it's all geared toward the combat side of ship. And you could build them in theory, I could have a 20,000 ton cutter in my home system. I could build a non-FTL battleship to defend my home system. And there'll come a point in time, if you played long enough, you might want that. You might want that. So the fact that you can build it is it's the kind of the point for it. So in this case, right, we're looking at how these things get in. The Amperlo is able to dispatch right away. So we get there, and I sit there and I'll say, all right, so we get the Amperlo right there. I kind of could have used a bigger damn map, I guess. Amperlo's there, and our pirate ship comes out right here, and that means I got the terrorists, and I'm going to have the terrorists come out right down here. So the Amperlo is in between and these two here. The question now would be is, what can we do? What can't we do? And the Amperlo cannot jump out of the system. So I have to drive the gunboat off. One way or another, the gunboat has to go away. And ideally, the Amperlo is going to move this way because I want it to close the distance and get itself behind the terrace, right? And so when we look at maneuverability, I gotta try and find that. I had that thing here, and then I bounced around, and I'm not looking forward. I gotta reprint all this crap when the time comes to do an updated version for this game system, and I'm not looking forward to that. All these bitches have to be redone by hand because there's so many typos and errors. Besides, there's also some placement issues. I don't like necessarily how I placed everything now. That after time, they seem to be like the weapon mag should be back there with the weapons and not clear up here by this, other shit kind of crap. All right, so here is our maneuverability and to hit modifier and ranges. So in the case of Amperlo has a maneuverability of 1.4, which is quite respectable for a freighter. Keeping in mind she doubles as a smuggler, that was how I was justified in my mind for her sacrificing some cargo capacity for that extra that extra movement ability. But at 1.4 maneuverability, that means 3 hexes. So this little sucker can only move 3 hexes at a time, right? And we go down to the Terrace. The Terrace has a maneuverability of 4.0, which is where you expect a sloop and a light warship needs to be. So it has a movement of 16 hexes. So you can see right off the bat the movement capability differences between a warship and a freighter. So this freighter's and fairly respectable freighter at 1.4 is moving three hexes per round, whereas this bitch can work 16. So this bitch can literally be up there in the pirate's face in that one round, right? And then that leaves us the gunboat, and the gunboat, being that it's a smaller ship, packing as much firepower as the Terrace, had to take into compensation that because it's a smaller vessel, couldn't carry as many sublight drives. And the trick here, keeping in mind how this maneuverability works when it comes to constructing a ship, is it's based on how many maneuver drives your ship needs to be maneuverable. So how many sublight drives does it require? So if to just move a fully loaded the Amperlo fully loaded weighs about 500, just short of 600 tons. When you add all the cargo possibilities and the weight of the ship itself, it's just short of 600 tons. So I need to have minimum of 4 sublight drives just to get 1.0 maneuverability, or the ability to move 2 hexes per round. So this expedites. So I need to have 4, because 4 at fully loaded. So the ship, when it's not fully loaded, only weighs half that, 300 tons. But that doesn't matter to the sublight, because they're going to say that you can make the argument that an unloaded ship moves faster than a loaded one, because you can factor that movement percentage based on the tonnage of the ship, not on the overall tonnage and not the component tonnage. So that said, the ship's still fairly slow as molasses, no matter how you spin it. Now, the gunboat's going to be much faster than the Amperlo, but not as fast as the Terrace. So the Terrace is actually slightly faster, and so it could make a difference. And we look at the gun mount maneuverability. So hex says maneuverability is 3.8. So 3.8 is 15 hexes. So the Terrace can move one further than the gunboat, right? So the only, now the advantages are then the hit modifier. So we look moving at speed at 1.4. It's to hit modifier, it is 14%. Oh, that's wrong one. So 3.8, 38%. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I don't do this that often enough for me to remember everything. So maneuverability, then it was at 1.4 was 14%, and 4.0 40%. Okay. Then we had you factor in the captain and the crew rankings to get your to hit modifiers. Then you modify that with the ship weapon systems based on their tech levels. So in this case, the Amperlo's to hit is plus 21%, and the Terrace to hit is a 34%, and your mine 29% to hit, and then any modifiers that come out of combat from that. So we get into that wonderful shit. All right. So, question is, who gets to go first? Well, technically, initiation, the initiative's already been figured out, Because what we've got here is the Amberlo arrived in the system, gunboat or the pirate gunboat either fired a shot at it or waved it off. And range-wise, pretty much all my naval weapons, there are no naval weapons here that can't reach across this board at this point. I mean, I've got EER range. So the terrorist has to remain with, cannot get point blank, has to stay four light year or four hexes away from the gunboat, and otherwise it starts suffering penalties for point blanks. You get too close, if it's 3 hexes or closer with the EER range, it would be unable to target. So the terrorist has to stay at range to hit the most. The terrorist has, here's the advantages. Okay, so the gunboat has a naval autocannon that can rent 2 rounds of ammunition per shot. It's 10 points per hit. So each ammo that hits is worth 10 points of damage. You can roll them as a pair because they're in autocannon as in, burst, where they hit the same place, the same point on the ship, and overwhelm it with damage. Or you could target 2 separate sections if you chose. That's your choice. In this case, just focusing the ammo makes the most sense. The terrorist has a naval laser battery. The naval laser battery has some advantages and disadvantages as well. One of the advantages is being that it's energy based. It doesn't rely on needing reloads to restore its battery capacity when it's discharged. So that shed, it can shoot 3 beams, 1, 2, or 3, so 3 beam burst at a time. And it has 45 shots. So whether you shoot them 3 at a time or 1 individually each round, you have 45 of them. So you burn through in 14 rounds, 15 rounds, you can burn through your whole cargo or your whole weapon capacity. And you don't have any way to reload it, so you can't recharge it. The recharge comes from physically recharging off the engines, which takes a full day. So, and it says that you'd have to, so if this ship needs to engage in multiple engagements in the same cycle, you need to space it out over a couple day period kind of thing to give the batteries a chance to the weapon systems a chance to recharge. And so the shielding kind of works that way too, except the recharge factor is much faster on shielding. But they're still degrading, the longer the battle goes, the more degraded the shields get, and then it starts chewing into ship armor. Once it starts getting into armor, then it's just a matter of time before you hit a component. You hit the right or wrong component, and it's over. I mean, so in our first case scenario, as we look at, she came in, they fired a round off. So the question would have been, did they move or did they just sit there and do their round of their warning? Because they don't necessarily, I make that use the fire around fictitiously, because ideally we could roll to see if they actually did, and the reason we do that is to see if they've already wasted ammo. I mean, because that could be a different the different advantage in not having or because you fired early, you run out of ammo before your opponent does, kind of scenario. I mean, the idea behind combat in here is to make it brutally quick, and we don't want it retardedly, unrealistically quick, but we still want it quick, right? I'm just saying. So, modifiers and range and all this wonderful other crap. I got my little marker here. I want to measure shit. I'll put that down there, and what first thing we want to know is what, if anything, the NPC's actions are. So I'm going to just roll with no modifiers, and ignoring the bottom ones, because this thing's not going to retreat when this damn ship showed up. So 43. Hesitates, confused, but they do not attack but can evade. So I think what we're going to say is that, alright, so they came in, they jumped out, they warned them, heave 2, they dispatched a panic call, Panic call gets out to Fairwind. Fairwind just happens to have a warship sitting idle. Boom, warship arrives. Now, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, you can really make an argument that, well, gee, even though that was instantaneous, it still took minutes or hours or days or whatever to make the transition. That's on you. My philosophy is I follow that, like I said, Battletech's jump philosophy. In this case, the jump is all but instantaneous. The amount of time it takes to actually move from one solar system to the next is minuscule. It's the extreme amount of resources, power, that it takes to get that engine powered up to make that jump, and how long it takes to recharge that damn jump drive to do that. So, instantaneous. As soon as we got the call, the cavalry arrives. That's kind of how it plays out. So this matters because this tells you down the road strategically. These systems, these outerlying systems, suddenly become important because I put a little colony, or I put a little supply base out here in this empty system. For example, I put a platform that's got supplies, and I mount some starfighters on it because this becomes a regular transit point for my ship traffic, and it makes sense to defend the system. Or perhaps the next system over is a habitable planet, so I set up a colony there and base one of my warships out of there. And the reason I do that is because, once again, one of the last things I move are my warships. So if this one happens to be 1 light year away from this system and something goes south, boom, it's right there. You see the connectivities and things like this. Another point would be is if I had a response in this system, for example, and I make sure that my average movement for most small and medium freighters is going to be 5. So that's a reasonable amount of light years. So if I was to place, like I said, a platform here and base a warship here, then my warship could then jump out, and it could either be back at Fairwind if I have a problem at home, like this, or it could be 5 light years further out. So it could reach the next jump station 5 light years out. And so this gives me this range of flexibility. So ideally, when you move it so you have enough warships to station in various areas to kind of respond to problems as they occur. I mean, it's just kind of the way you want to go. So in this case, the ship just hesitates and evades, so it doesn't do anything. So the terrorist jumps in system and immediately is going to move forward, and it can move forward at up to 16 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Immediately puts the Emperor Low between it and your mine. So this initiates the round, the combat round, combat round 1. And if we go down that, since we go down that, road, CR1. Emperor Low arrives in system. Pirate declares challenge. Terrorist arrives. Moves to engage. So, this brings us to CR number 2. And so the Emperor Low can only move 2 hexes, and I'm going to have it choose to move those 3 hexes. I'm going to have it choose to move those 3 hexes to get a little bit more space between these two between it and the Gumba, because that's where we want it to be. So this brings us to the pirate, and the pirate's action. And like I said, I have these charts and these secondary charts for a reason. So in the NPC action chart, and I'll read down this: flee area, will surrender if cornered. Intense reckless retreat at maximum speed, seeking cover. Retreat only attacks in defense and if threat blocks escape route. Retreats while defending themselves. Retreats until out of range, ER2 or greater, then regroups. Withdraws 1d10 hexes and regroups. Withdraws 1d10 hexes and regroups. Hesitate, confuse, they do not attack but can evade. Evades up to a run or up to full speed while attacking defensively. Roll on an NPC response chart to follow the instructions. So you get this one for even more because we get responses down here. And then we go maneuvers, cautiously advances up to a quick, up to a double quick, advances aggressively up to a charge, etc., etc. So this is what we're wanting to do. We want to know what they're going to do. And that's the NPC action, and so the NPC response. So I'm going to see just what the pirate's response is to our warship showing up. And obviously the captain of terrorists is telling your mind to piss off, and we ain't having it. The house isn't having it. So 97. So 97 means they want to advance aggressively, attacking nearest optimum target. So they're going to the nearest target is going to be the terrorist. This is one of the reasons I put the I moved the terrorist up there to help give me some initiative on the other side, other part of the other guy. So I'm trying to see, we got modifiers, negative modifiers. See, those don't apply. NPC response, hold position. See, that makes that little extra line in there is a problem because it makes it think it's going on with extra shit. Anyhow. Okay, so we are at long range, 9 to 10 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're at long range, which would be optimum range anyway, no modifier. So we have maneuverability versus maneuverability factors into this. So they're 30 terrace is 40% minus your mind's 38%, so they get a +2 there. So +2 +8 is 10. So 39% chance more or less of hitting. Alright, so 39% chance or less of hitting. So 45% is a miss. And so that means they fired off 2 rounds out of their 10. That gives them 8. And booyah, right? Miss. Right, and then we have terrace. So the terrace is now sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 long range at ER2. Long range. No. My EER range shooting at long range. Yes. So no modifiers there. So my 3 negative returns fire. Right, and it had +34. That's 44. That's 46%. 46 and a 46 equals a hit. I'll take it. Alright, so we got a hit, and that means the Terrace used 3 of its 45 energy shots up. Now, the individual shots from the naval autocannon does 10 points of damage. The individual shots from the naval grade does 7. So collectively, 3 shots does 21 points of damage to the gunboat. Now, because the gunboat is a single hull, remember I mentioned about hull sizes makes a difference. So in this case, we're head on. So our 2 ships are coming at each other, and that means the only section facing each other are the bow. So any shots I fire are going to hit the bow. Now, in this case, the gunboat doesn't have any other section but the bow, or but the whole ship. So it's going to their exterior shield and the interior shield takes the hit. So this is how we look, and we have to look at it from that perspective. So when we look at the gunboat, and it has a core shield and an exterior shield of 16. So the exterior 16, I hit the ship with 21 points of damage. This negates, completely negates the exterior shield. So the exterior shield is gone and collapses. And then the interior shield takes the surviving amount. So 16 minus 21 is 5. So the core shield absorbs 5 more of the damage. That leaves the core shield down to 5. So I hit them with a second round of naval battery shots. The odds are really good that they're gone. Now we have to take into account the ship recharge factors for shielding. So oh yeah, and keep in mind too, so when I talk about putting my warship between what I want to defend and the bad guy. What that does is when the event roll says when they get highly aggressive and they attack the nearest opponent, you want your warship to be the nearest opponent. If for some reason the maneuverability maneuvers such a way that your defensive, the ship thing you're defending becomes the nearest opponent, then that's the target your bad guy goes after, because that's just the way shit rolls, right? So shielding. Come on, where you at? Life support, lifeboats, mash boats. So I said, see, I gotta get this stuff in better. Yeah, see, so the recharge rate is a +3 and a +4. So my internal shield is a +3, and recharge on the exterior is a +4. So by definition, what's happened is combat for this round is concluded because there's only 3 ships involved. The gunboats on the Emperor Low are not sufficiently ranged to hit the gunboat even if it wanted to, and neither are the gun mounts weapons ideally that are mounted on the sloop. So I'm not fiddling with them. I'm just focused on the primary naval grade weapons. And so in that case, we're already into combat round 3. The Amperlo, the Your Mind pirate could recharge the damage taken, and we can automatically just do it now because the new combat round starts and they have recharged to what they're allowed. So in this case, they're allowed the main shield, the exterior shield is a +4. And the interior shield, which was knocked down to 5, is recharged to 8. So what the gunboat, the pirate ship needs to happen is for the next round is for my shit to miss him, so he has time to recharge his shielding before the worst happens. So in this case, we've achieved this. and they've significantly taken some sizable damage. So we look at our modifiers for that sort of stuff, and we look at where we at. Yeah, I don't see anything right here that says that really should be a modifier for that. I'm surprised I don't have one. It's one of those things where you think about it, and you go, maybe we should do that. So in this case, we're just going to see what this guy's actions are going to be. And he's either going to do something or he ain't. And I don't have any modifiers. 37. And you know what? I got to take a pause for a second. You know what? I really, really got to take a pause. Oh, yeah. That's the sucky part about getting old, damn it. Kidneys just kill you after a while. So anyway, right, let's just see what we had. We rolled a 37 and 37 with no modifiers yet. Withdrawals 1T10 hexes and regroups. So we will, which is kind of a stupid thing to do. All right, that bump there, let me just go ahead and roll it again. So 4, he's going to withdraw 4. So the way I would do this is I'm going to move everything over 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he's going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's withdrawn, which means he's going to withdraw 4 hex, regroup. Not sure that's a wise move on his part, but that's what he chose to do. Emperor low moves 3. So Emperor low, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to move further out. And that leaves us with the terrors. And that was a hit. What did they have the previous one? That's a 46%. Was there a modifier? No modifier. It was not one that you can add fires at. Hire it. No modifier for movement. No modifier for combat. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. Irony of irony. By moving back, they actually bring themselves within optimal EER range for my naval battery. So that actually gives a bit of a bonus. Yeah, see ER2 firing at, I get a +5 bonus. Alright, so I had a +5 to hit, plus, and I figured out, it was a +34, so that's 39, so 39% to hit, 39% or less to hit, so 88's a miss. Alright. Combat round 4. Alright, so pirate. Oh, yeah, miss. I gotta track that shit too, damn it. So, 2 more of our laser battery shots are gone, or 3 more. And because I missed this round, that means the pirate ship's charge, re-shield recharged another set of points. So in the case of the pirate ship, the core shield goes up is fully charged again. And the exterior shield is now half charged. Alright. So our gun mount, let's find out what our pirate's going to do. 20. At this rate, he's going to run away, which actually might be the smartest thing. Retreats while defending themselves. Well, that don't tell me jack. Let's see, retreats. Where's the thing on that? Alright. He's going to retreat 9 hexes, and he's going to retreat 9 hexes, or, yeah, 9, 10, the northeast. He's going to move 9 hexes this way, and we're going to come 2 this way. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, the Emperor Low just leaves the field, because you can make the argument that the ship still connects, but this is going to move 9, which would mean I would bring this ship into 9, and I want it to be 9 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here and here. And it doesn't fire, so it just moves. But it doesn't say how far. Okay, so we can make a judgment call here. We can make a judgment call. By argument, by moving away from the battlefield, the pirate is left the mark behind. So the Emperor Low is now out of range, but it's not out of sensors. By definition, every ship sensor package can pretty much spot another ship anywhere in a given solar system, unless they've got cover. There's technology to providing cover, or there's something physically. So if you're in an asteroid belt, for example, you couldn't say, I don't know how many ships are out there, because you wouldn't be able to tell one ship from an asteroid, unless you're literally next to the asteroid belt. So in this case, the same scenario. The Emperor Low can't go anywhere in this empty system that the pirate can't see it. There's nothing here to hide behind or to interfere with, except the sun, and we're never going to get close enough to the sun, and that we would never play that kind of game out. That would be just a waste of time. So in this case, the pirate has allowed the mark to get away in order to preserve itself from taking lethal damage from the terrorist. And if it gets hit a second time by the terrorist, it's going to chew right into that hull for sure. So what I'm going to choose is have the terrorist take a damn pot shot at that ship before it can, further encourage it to go the hell away. Because I can make the judgment call that the engagement's over with. But I have an alternate, motive here. I have the upper hand at the moment, and I kind of would like to take the damn ship. So if I can significantly damage the gunboat without destroying it, I can either force its crew to surrender the gunboat, which would be awesome, because then I could haul it. The sloop may be sufficiently large enough to drag it home for me to fix all the damage and shit on it, and then I have myself a ready-made gunboat. The other possibility, of course, would be to significantly damage the damn gunboat, which blows it up into components, and I recover what I can of those. I mean, it's kind of a win-win. And then, of course, is once again, we're just making damn sure. If this thing makes a retreat, so it makes an aggressive movement, I may need to check and see if it makes an aggressive movement to catch up with the amper low. Otherwise, if it continues to maneuver away, then it's broke. It's as far as I'm concerned, the conflict is ended successfully. That's what we want, is success in the first place. So we will look at that, and we'll take a pot shot at her just to be fun. And what I said, 30 or 36% plus 5, so 41%. 41%. And 91, so that's a miss. Alright, so the amper low, or the Terrace fires. Okay, so I'm just going to conclude the event with that, because we could do this cat and mouse. We could just chase each other across the battlefield, and until I get a significant chance to hit the damn thing. And by this time, 12 of the 16 hit points for the shield, the exterior shield would be recharged. The internal shield is already recharged. So the pirate ship is going to be fully recharged inside of another combat round. And it has only fired 2 rounds of ammo, so it hasn't really significantly wasted anything to face off against the Terrace. The Terrace, which is a bigger ship. The sloop is a bigger ship. It's not any better gunned. That the gunboat's naval cannon can deliver 20 points of damage versus the 21 that the Terrace's naval grade naval laser battery can deliver. And so it's not questionable. It's just that the Terrace actually has slightly better shielding. It has 2 internal shielding, which matters nothing when a head-on-head conflict, because you're only going after the section shield and the overall the main shield and the section shield. But in this case, it would take a little longer for the NAC to burn through it, which might be all the difference between winning and losing. The downside is, if we talk about a protracted long-term drag-out fight, if you wanted to make this a mini campaign over a 10-day stretch and have these 2 ships keep poking at each other, eventually the Terrace is going to be at a disadvantage, because its energy-based weapon system will deplete itself and need a full day of non-weapon fire to recharge the battery. So it's doable. You'd spend an entire cycle or 1 day inside that mini scenario or mini campaign of just chasing the bad guy around, or running from the bad guy so you can recharge your damn batteries. It's like them running from you to recharge the shielding. I mean, it's kind of a damned if you do. So do we want to go that route? No. In this case, we just say the mission was a success. My cargo gets to move on down the road. And the bad guy doesn't get a free meal today, and at that point, do we have to make the next step? So the next cycle we have to go and move. And if I move the amper low out another 5 years or another 5 light years, she's now too far away from anything I have to respond if the scenario repeats itself. All right, then there's a possibility. And then if it does repeat itself, we need to check the numbers. So if another pirate gunboat suddenly shows up, then we go and run our numbers and say, okay, 50, 60, 50, or 40, 60, 40% chance this is the same guy from the previous cycle. And he made a dumb luck guess. Because like I said, we know that there's a trade route in this way. The pirate probably knows this as well. And if he's figuring the same, a good pilot, a good navigator is going to go, well, hey, that's probably the range of this ship, so 5 light years away would be another, logical place. kind of how that stuff would work out, right? So at the end of the day, does it play out? I don't know. But so the Mike Sloop gains some valuable experience. The Emperor Lou gets away, right? And I get to tag this warship. Now that I have this warship and I know he's in my region, a couple of things come to mind. One, I want to keep an eye on him. These warships, these pirate warships show up on my planet every now and then. Maybe, just maybe, I tag a percentage to it and say, okay, 5%, 10% chance it's this guy. You know, and this guy comes up and repeatedly, eventually the house will nail the bastard somehow. Whether it's on the ground, in the port, or in the air. I mean, sooner or later we'll get the advantage of doing that. So that's how this plays out. Till next time, I'm Rick. Little Missy back here, wherever she's at. She's taking a nap here in the sun. Yes, you is. You're taking a nap? Yeah? You ready to go out in the living room? Daddy's ready to go out in the living room. Yeah? Yes. Yes. Yes, you're a good kitty. Yes, you're a good kitty. Yes, you is. Yes, she is. Okie dokie. Till next time, keep your ammo dry. Oh, hey. The next button over.